Nope. Oh, there we go. You all can hear me. Good evening. It is 7 o'clock, and I am calling tonight's school board meeting, July 19th, to order. And we will start with a flag salute. So, Trustee Geddes, can you lead us in a flag salute, please?
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right, fellow board members, please review the agenda. Please let me know if you have any edits or changes you would like to make. All right, don't see any. Perfect. Moving on, or before we move on, I just want to say that Trustee Dudek is not with us today, so he is not present. So now moving on to agenda item number 6, special presentation. I'll hand it over to Dr. Dana Eaton for his superintendent report.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and it's so nice to see everybody. This is the first tie I've had on in 4 weeks, and so it's fitting a little snug, so I'm going to run a little extra long tomorrow. I want to start off by just pointing out a couple of things. One, if you've had a chance to log on to our website, it's really phenomenal. One of the things, we were thrown a curveball in April where our school website provider, School Loop, told us that they were going to shut down. We worked with a new company. June. Okay, it felt like April. June is when they officially shut down. And so I really want to acknowledge the work of Nicole Clevin and Robert Remley and Robert's team for really working very quickly to put a great website together. There's still things that we're building into it, but it's really come a long way. One of the great pieces of this is that each family in our district will not only have access to much more robust and easy to navigate websites, but also apps that'll bring them to the most easiest and most important things that will bring them to the most important things that they need to access in the easiest way. And so I really want to acknowledge the both of you and thank you for your hard work. And hopefully you'll take a chance to look at that when you get a second. The second thing I want to share just with the board is this was a picture taken today of the school out that's being built on Lone Tree. If you had gone by there 3 or 4 weeks early, you would have seen no buildings up whatsoever. So the work that's been done to prefabricate a lot of the buildings that were out there pouring, I was talking with James today, they were out there pouring just some of the last of the concrete that they need to pour to get the foundations out there. So it's really, really going well, despite the fact that it's hot. What's amazing is how many people are out there. So if you get a chance to go out and take a look, it's well worth your look. It's off of Smith Road is the easiest way. So if you go up O'Hara to Lone Tree and take a right and just go right down Smith Road, you'll see that going up, and you can see it easily from the fence. And the other thing that I want to say is we were just overwhelmed with so many wonderful suggestions for school names as we look at that. And we're in process now. The board has a small committee that they're forming to look at those names and come back with a recommendation. And hopefully that'll happen within the next few months. And so we're excited about that and really excited to bring the next school to our district. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you so much. I now will move to see if we have any board member comments or committee reports.
No. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we will move on to item number 7, public comments. And at this time, the public is permitted to address the school board on items that are on the consent calendar, requests for future agenda items that are not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. And while we encourage your comments, unfortunately, state law prevents us from discussing items that are not on our meeting agenda. Public comments can be made at this time or during the appropriate agenda item. Please know that we do take them very seriously, and if appropriate, staff will follow up. I do need a motion.
I move that we open public comment.
Perfect.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved, and I do have one speaker card in front of me, and it's Jill. Come on. Jill Pospisil? Pospisil, thank you.
Good evening. I am Jill Pospisil, and I'm the librarian at Adams Middle School.
I'm here with all of the librarians in support for our request for full library services for Brentwood Union School District. And a little history, I know I'm not going to finish through all the information that I'd like to share, and I do have something to leave for you at the end. Little history, and in 2009, Brentwood Union School District librarian clerks were collaborated and voluntarily reduced their work year by 10 days to be aligned with the school secretary calendar in efforts to help reduce district costs during an economic downturn, with the expectation that it would be a temporary change. The library clerk calendar became the same work year calendar as the secretarial calendar, but did not present the same guaranteed staffing as secretaries. Facts. There is a strong importance and expectation for consistency at each site throughout the school district for equal services from teachers, staff, students, parents, as well as library clerks. We all know that consistent rules and procedures promote student success and deter misbehaviors or confusion about expectations. All schools throughout the district should receive consistent services. All libraries should be available to students, teachers, staff, and families 5 days a week for the full school day. The enrollment does not determine student-teacher family needs. So what's wrong? Only 6 of our libraries have 100% services. Marsh Creek Elementary is only allotted 90% services from the district, and 10% comes from site funds. We have been experiencing library clerk job shares for almost 20 years. That comes with great challenges for not only the clerks, but students and staff as well. Library clerks are the only employees that are required to job share with an 80-20 split. Job shares occur without partners being able to collaborate or communicate in person. This makes consistency with students and staff very difficult and makes connecting with all staff and students extremely challenging. In comparison, school secretaries have minimum staffing of 2 full-time employees at all TK5 sites and 3 full-time employees at 6 to 8 sites to handle the increasing enrollment and daily operational loads. Library services are impacted negatively due to the current library service staffing policy. And here are some examples. Broad Nunn has not been open on Fridays for 19 years. Thereby, teachers and students have no access to library services or curriculum on Fridays. Library services are reduced when site enrollment drops, but there is no current enrollment number that increases staffing beyond 1 library clerk, unlike school secretaries receiving clerical aid help when they reach a higher enrollment number.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? Cards out there? No? All right, so then I will ask for a motion to close public comments, please.
Move that we close public comment.
A second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved. And I think, I was going to ask if you can bring the copies up. Thank you. All right, next up, we'll move on to item number 8, the consent items. I know we did want to have some comments on agenda item 8.1 before we move for approval. So, Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Board. I just want to point out to you on our personnel doc this evening, on June 22nd, we held a job fair to recruit classified staff. Many of our principals attended, and my team ran it as I was out of town. And we hired made over 50 offers to new employees, and 35 of them are on here tonight. That will be staffing. Our classified staff, we have about 15 openings right now in the district, which is a far better than where we started last year at about 63 openings. And so I just want to point out the hard work of our team and our principals in being able to recruit this staff. I do want to point out that we did hire the superintendent of Liberty High School District's daughter, Krista Volta. Don't hold that against her. She's phenomenal. We're really excited about her working for us. And then a couple of pieces I want to point out is we're working with Heather Higginbotham, long-term teacher at Loma Vista, well-loved and cared for, and she wants to work closer to home. She's been commuting from Benicia for the past 20 years, and so she has recently asked for a resignation. If we can fill her position, then we will grant that resignation. So I just want to point that out. And then another one is a leave of absence, a return from a leave of absence, and you may recognize the last name. It's Calabrese, and that's my wife, and so I just want you to know that was on there. I'm not her evaluator, so that she doesn't evaluate me. And but just wanted to know that she was returning from her leave of absence to Loma Vista Elementary School.
Great.
Any questions for me? And then lastly, that you'll see that an increase in psychologists by 0.5, and that is to reduce the need for a contractor.
Great.
I move that we accept the consent items 8.0 through 8.9.
8.8.
8.8.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor of approving consent items 8.0 to 8.8?
Aye.
All right, perfect. So moved.
Actually,
No?
let me do a quick check there because I have an 8.9 on mine as well. Do I have an?
I have
I have 8.8.
So
Same.
let's check real quick.
Mine's on the computer, though.
Oh, that's, we have I think Emo and I have an older one, so that is correct.
Okay.
No,
so-
sorry, just wanted to make sure and recheck.
Okay, yep, quality
Okay.
control, so all good.
Good call.
Yeah.
So we are item 8 through
Yeah,
8.8,
that is
correct?
correct.
All right, perfect. So that motion carried. Next, moving on to agenda item number 9, hearings and appeals. There are none. So we will move on to item number 10, presentations, reports, and other action items. And I do have one report out from closed session that the board voted unanimously to approve closed session agenda item 3.2, which was the approval of special education settlement agreement. Right. So now we have an information update at item number 10.1 on the CW Fit grant.
Yeah, we're going to have Emily Richards come up and join us.
Good. I have Jeannie Harberson and Dr. Both Jeannie Harberson and Dr. Gittens are here, so they'll be doing the presentation. I'm just going to read it off coming up with me.
Do you need another chair, Emily?
Yes.
Okay.
And Robert, that's my feet.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Library. So I know we came in May as a consent item to approve the research that's happening about this grant, and that you asked for us to come back and give a little bit more information. So Dr. Carolyn Giddens, she's the Dean of the School of Education at St. Mary's, and Jeannie Harberson, she's the Research Project Manager of the CW Fit grant at St. Mary's, is going to give a little more information, talking both about what happened during the 22-23 school year. That was our pilot year, and then what's going to be happening as we roll into full implementation this year and next year with our elementary schools here in Brentwood. I'll turn it over to both of you.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Carol Gittens, and I, as I was introduced, Dean of the School of Education at St. Mary's College, and I'm here with my colleague to share some information about this grant. I'm going to start by giving an overview of the project and then turn it over to Jeannie to provide some data, which I think you're going to find to be very interesting, and we are pleased to offer it to you. I jumped right past the first one. All right. It's supposed to jump. All right, so we're here to talk about the CW Fit grant, and it is a partnership between St. Mary's College and the University of Kansas. It is funded through funds from the U.S. Department of Education. As you can see from the screen, it's the Department of Education, Innovation, and Research area. It was awarded to one of our faculty in the School of Education, Dr. Peter Alter, who's not able to join us tonight, but we're here to represent this project. The overall purpose of the research and the purpose of the project is to expand classroom management. And here, I'm actually going to go just back for a second. Okay. Expand the classroom management, in particular classrooms. And what we wanted to do is we are trying to introduce a technique that is classroom-based, and it's grounded in research, it's grounded in theory and evidence. And it's been a project or a technique that has been around since 2007. The purpose is to try and increase student engagement, to really make sure that the students in the classroom are so part of what's happening in the classroom, that there's not going to be as much disruptive behavior. So it's really a positive focused project as opposed to something that's around deterring particular behaviors. It is a combination of training teachers to use praise and also to specifically address behavioral concerns that might come up in the classroom. So what we're showing you today is some data that is looking at some of the common functions of the problem behavior, where it's tied to teachers' attention, how much attention the child is getting, how much attention and what kinds of attention they're getting from their peers, as well as how the role of direct instruction can integrate or engage the children. So what we're going to show you and what the training talks about is around following the directions, making sure that we're helping teachers form and structure their attention, and to really actually ignore the behaviors that are the disruptive behaviors instead of letting their attention be drawn to them. So it's a combination of praise, combination of correction, and it uses the PBIS and techniques in the classroom. Ultimately, the CW Fit project, again, that partnership with our colleagues at the University of Kansas, is really about trying to increase and expand the use of this and make sure that the techniques we're training teachers to do are sustainable, which means the project directors, the trainers can leave, and all of the benefits can they will endure in the classroom. It's a district coaching model so that we are working with the district to help implement those supports. We train coaches. It's a training that teachers go through. It's 12 weeks of that training. And ultimately, again, it's focused on classroom management. In terms of outcomes, we're looking at whether or not there can be positive impacts, not only on behavior, but also in academic engagement, helping make sure that the kids are being more involved in their school-based learning, and also how this might lead to achievement or success and academic success, especially with our students that are of the greatest need in our schools. So a little bit about the partnership with Brentwood Union. It's a 3-year project. Right now, we're engaging the 7 elementary schools. In total, there'll be the 57 to 60 teachers that will overall participate. We're focusing on grades 1 through 5. The schools and the teachers were brought into the project on a volunteer basis. And what we do is we use a technique of randomly assigning the teachers to one of 2 groups. They'll either be in what's called the intervention group, which is the group that goes through training first, or they're in a control group, which is in this project, there will be training, but it's not right away. So they function as a group that is not yet trained teachers, and it allows us to show that there might be are demonstratable impacts of having that training. There's always important to have some group that you can compare them to. The intervention teacher will use the CW Fit for 12 weeks, 3 times a week in their math and reading and writing. This is intended to be a fall-based intervention. The teachers can choose which subject that they use these techniques. I've already mentioned that the control teachers will use the sustainability plan, but it'll be in the spring. So we do have a plan for those control teachers. They're not being left out. They're not going to not benefit from this project, but it's going to be a delayed implementation of training. The district coaches are the ones that are going to be doing the training. They're supporting those teachers. And we do have stipends that are provided as part of the funded project so that there's a way to say thank you and compensate the participants, the coaches and the teachers. Okay. The district receives funds over this 3 years to support the research and also to help us make sure that we are able to demonstrate effective outcomes related to classroom management and also the social emotional learning outcomes in the district. I'm going to move the laptop over to Jeannie, who is directly involved in the implementation, and the teachers who have been involved are, we're really excited to see them in person, to meet all you in person, and I know that Jeannie's excited to share the data so far.
So the overview of the participation last year was the pilot year. So 2003, 2004, the pilot school was Brentwood Elementary. 4 teachers volunteered from grades 1st to 5th grade. Because it was a pilot school.
Well, last year was 22, 23.
Oh, yes, I'm a little bit ahead. Okay.
No worries.
I'm working so much on this school year
I know.
that I did that,
We
that I
both looked at
totally,
this a lot of times.
Yeah,
Neither one of
I
us
just
caught
tell you.
it.
all right, well, and there were 4 teachers who participated from 1st to 5th grade. We did not randomize them because as the pilot year, it helps for a lot of things. One, for us to get familiar with the district and how the district functions, to get familiar with all parties that are involved, as well as to allow there are 2 coaches who volunteered to participate as coaches and to allow them to be able to learn how to be a CW Fit coach. So this year, which is 2023-2024, 3 elementary schools are part of the grant research, Garin, Marsh Creek, and Mary Casey Black. We have 20 teachers who have consented to participate in the research study. I have not been in a district that I've seen so many enthusiastic teachers want to be part of a research study, but they really were. So just so you know, when they're randomized, they're going to be split in half. 10 will be intervention and 10 will be control. Next year, the goal is to get another 3 elementary schools. Obviously, we haven't done any recruiting yet. We always look for a minimum to recruit 18 teachers, and then that randomization would be 9 control and then 9 intervention. So how do we collect the data? So the data is collected. Every teacher who participates receives 4 20-minute observations. The first set of observation, which we call the baseline data, is before any teacher is trained. And what the observer is looking for are when students are off task, as well as what is the teacher to reprimand praise ratio. And then the post data, or the second set of observation, is in the 10th and 11th week of the 12-week implementation. So we do then go in and observe the intervention teachers as well as the control teacher, because then we make a comparison. And that's what Dr. Gittin was talking about, is that we look to see how did implementing CW Fit affect the teachers within those 12 weeks? Did things improve versus the teachers that did not implement CW Fit? So we're able to make that comparison. So looking at the data of Brentwood, so at baseline, and this is the average of the 4 teachers. So at baseline, students on task behavior was 69%, which is actually really good. It's pretty high to be 69%. So we were a little concerned that it was a bit high, and we didn't know if CW Fit, what impact CW Fit was going to make. But at the post data, which was again the 10th and 11th week, the average of the 4 teachers went to 88%. Which was like phenomenal. It was a really big jump, considering that they were already high for us. So praise to reprimand, and I'm gonna explain what we consider reprimand, because I don't want anyone looking at this 32 or 30, 32.5% being, oh my God, the teachers are just reprimanding these children all the time. They're not. So to us, what reprimand is when a teacher redirects a behavior. So if all of a sudden the student's energy level gets high and their voice is raised and the teacher wants to quiet them down, if she goes, shh, that is counted as a reprimand, right? So, because that's verbal. So I don't want you to think that she's like, oh my God, be quiet. That is not. So that is how we count reprimand. So in looking at the number, the average, initially, it's really like almost like a 1 to 3. So at baseline, the praise was 10%, and then the reprimand was 32%, so like a 1 to 3. And then at post, you could see that the praise raised higher. I will say that the reprimand probably would have been a little bit less, but there was a classroom disruption, unfortunately, at 2 of the observations. And it was someone's birthday, but while we're observing, we still have to count that. So I'm pretty sure that reprimand would have been a little bit less if there wasn't a lot of interruptions during that day. But again, you have to think about it. It's really a snapshot in time. And it's really just over 4 observations. But the teachers at Brentwood did a great job, and they implemented it with fidelity, because that is what the coaches do. Not only do they support them throughout if they have any questions, and I support the coaches in case something comes up that they're unfamiliar with, they also check periodically to see how are they implementing it with fidelity. So one of the things I want to say, I do work with a lot of school districts, and Brentwood is one of the ones that runs phenomenally great. It's like a well-oiled machine, I keep telling people. So kudos to all the administrators that I deal with. Emily gets things done, the principals, I email them, they answer it, they get the teachers to do things, the school counselors. So I want to really thank, and I'm always felt very welcome. Even when I walked in here, those librarians because I was in deep thought, and they're like, "Hi, we don't bite." So I was like, "This is just." I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I'm just in really deep thought at the moment, because I'm a little off here as to." I didn't think I could get in touch with her, so I was like, "Oh my God, how am I going to get in touch with her?" So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Is there any questions from you guys?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
I'm just curious about the observation, how often that's done and how it's done. Is it in
Sure.
person?
It is in person. So the observer goes, everything is scheduled beforehand. The observer goes to the classroom, and within those 20 minutes, every 30 seconds, the observer scans the room and see who is off task. And throughout those 20 minutes, they're tallying praise to reprimands. That is
Okay.
how we get that ratio.
Great.
So that is done 4 times.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I had questions. The teachers who are in the intervention group and the teachers in the control group, do they self-assign themselves or the
No, it's randomized.
researcher does it?
The researcher does it. So we have an outside agency that goes in called SRI, and then they go through all the approval, fingerprinting, and everything like that to be in the classroom. So they go into the classroom. I won't, because I will eventually interact with the teachers, so I can't. They need to make sure that I have no biases. So they go in, they just do the observation, and it's just computer randomized. Sorry.
I'll just follow up that by saying that the observer, it's really important that they don't know whether or not they're observing someone who's in the control or the intervention group. So the observer is truly able to just document what they're seeing without any, expectation for what they might see. So we really are trying to do everything possible to make sure that fidelity that Jamie's talking
And randomization is not done until after the baseline data is collected and computerized. So baseline, the first observations, which are the first 2 where you get the baseline, they observe, and then randomization happens after that.
I just want to thank you both for your work in our district and your support of our programs, and we're excited to be participating as well. And I want to also acknowledge Emily for all her hard work in bringing this to us. We again continue to be very lucky to have you in the district. So thank you, Emily. So thank you to the both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Go Gales. Yeah.
All right, yes, thank you. All right, next up, we'll move on to item number 10.2, the budget update.
Good evening. I have a short budget update. As you know, every June, the board adopts the New Year school budget. This was the 2023-24 Brentwood Union School District budget. So the board adopts it, but the state has yet to sign a budget into law. So Governor Newsom, signed the budget bill on June 27th. This is now referred to as the enacted budget. So the budget that you adopted in June was based on the budget assumptions from the May revise, which is what the governor releases in May, is what he thinks the budget will look like. It's his best. It's what he wants to see passed in July. So now we have the enacted budget, and the good news is there aren't any major changes. So the COLA, which is how our LCFF revenue is based, it's the same as what we adopted it. It's at 8.22%, so that the LCF revenue will be what it was stated. There were 2 changes that affect our district on one-time funding. One of them is the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant. And then the other one was the Learning Recovery Block Grant. The district is getting funds from both. And in January,
we knew we were going to get a certain amount. Then the May revise came, and with the arts, music, and instructional block grant, Governor Newsom said, well, I want to cut it 50%. Well, now that he's signed the budget, actually, he's going to cut it about 10% only. But he takes at the Learn and Recovery block grant and now says, well, I'm going to cut 20% off of that. So what does that mean? Well, the CDE has yet to figure out the exact allocations for school districts. So it's very high level. Like if you read the language, it says arts, music, instructional block grant was 3.6 billion. Now it's 3.4 billion. But when it's dispersed among all the districts, the money changes until we know what we have. So again, there's no specific update to the budget. Once we have allocations, then we can update the budget and share that with you.
And if I could just add a little bit of editorial, I think, one of the things that's a reminder is that both the art, music, and instructional material block grant and the learning recovery block grant were things that were allocated to us in previous years. So these aren't new things that were cut. These are things that we already have in our ongoing budgets that were cut. So one of the things that we'll have to do is when we get those numbers, we'll have to bring back and talk about, hey, this was our plan for spending that money. Let's talk about it and what needs to change as a result of this being cut. Second thing that I want to say is that we're still waiting for clear direction on Proposition 28. And if you remember, that's the one that we've been talking about music art programs that can come forward. It was a voter approved initiative. And so we still need more direction on that as we go forward. They still haven't sorted through the problems about what does it mean if you were parent funding a program before. Does that mean that now that counts as your minimum that you have to fund with the money before you spend any other money going forward? And so there's some ongoing challenges with that. We're hope that that'll resolve when the legislature comes back on after the 14th of August. And then the final thing that I'll say is that we haven't had it for a while. One of the things that I'm really concerned about is that this budget was predicated on $42 billion coming to the state between now and October. So remember, what's unique about this year is because of the fires, the state extended their filing deadline and when people could submit and make payments to the state until October. So they don't know all the personal income tax that's coming in. So it's predicated on this amount coming in. If it comes in at that amount or above, that's great. If it comes in below that amount, it is not out of the question for the state to come back and take money from the school district and make what's called a mid-year cut. And so that's possible. What's probably more likely is for them, if we come up short, to delay some of the money that we received until the following fiscal year, and then that'll present some cash issues with us that we'll have to work through as well. So, but anyway, definitely more to come as we go forward on that.
Questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
both.
Diane.
All righty, moving on to item number 10.3, an enrollment update.
Well, I'm going to share some information with you in just a minute. Some updated
You might need that
information
mic.
this afternoon. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, but first of all, I just wanted to share the latest info. If it's, there we go.
Just make sure you talk right into that mic so that it's the audio feed for the mic.
Okay, it's fascinating. I think we might set a world record and be out of here quite early today. All right, so the current state of things, last year, we gained a total of about 523, not kind of, or about exactly 523 students, the balance of it throughout the year. And this year, we ended the year with 9,641 students. We currently have 9,643 students, so almost exactly the same. And I know that when we talked last year, Robin was concerned because we had a bigger 8th grade class than we anticipated our kindergartners coming in. But right now we are balanced exactly right there. So the summer fund for student services was our summer enrollment. And then also several interdistrict transfers that came in, that we had to deny most of those. We did approve our employees of our district and also those who had siblings. So that was about 50, a little over 50 students that we did approve. However, we had to deny quite a few. So we've already been getting some appeals from the county on those, but we just didn't have the room to accept those interdistrict transfers. And then what we are monitoring closely, and I'll share this with you in a minute, is that since school offices opened yesterday, we've had 57 students enroll. This is higher than we've had ever. So just 36 today. And because of that high enrollment, that's higher than last year, our enrollment is very tight. So even before that happened, we had to displace a number of students to other schools than their home school. So you will probably be hearing about this when you're at the grocery store or out and about. And but we are doing our best to try to get those families back to their home school as soon as possible. And we have wait lists. The people behind me have been hearing about it quite a bit, but we are working really hard to get kids to their boundary school. And of course, you're building a new school, a beautiful new school because of this. And 4th and 6th grade is extremely tight, which is what I'm sharing with you right now. It is less than 1% of growth or room in those grade levels. So we're going to be meeting tomorrow and perhaps opening up some classrooms because that number is very small. So if you look at the form that you have right now shows the overall number in our school district first. That's that top number is the overall number of students that we have, the 9,643. The second grouping there is our SDC numbers. Those are in that overall number already. And then that shows the space remaining is that bottom number. And if you look at the bottom of each grade level there at the very bottom, it says that percentage of space. I know this is the one Mr. Geddes, you really wanted to have that percentage of space there. You wanted to see that clearly. And you can see that we have very little room in 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 6th grade. So we've got to really watch those really closely. We will keep monitoring that and keep you updated as we go forward. Absolutely. The first few days of school, we really watch this closely. And after 3 days of school, if students do not show up, then we do drop those students if they had moved and they didn't let us know. We've had really good communication with a lot of families. We did a big campaign with our schools and asked them to please let us know if you've moved. And a lot of them did communicate with us. But we do have that 3-day window where we do drop families. And last year we did see certain grade levels that showed us, that did have some dropped and some grew. So we looked at that, data to see where we think we might grow or not grow. So we will see how that goes in the first 3 days.
Yeah, one of the challenges that's unique to schools that are on our calendar is in the traditional system, the way that it works is a student will move out of an area and they'll go to their school and they'll enroll. And then that school, they'll go before school started. They'll let them know where they were before. The school itself will request the CUME folder from the school that they were attending. Well, because we start so early, most of those schools are still closed. And so before we actually start, so what happens is if the family doesn't actively tell us that they're leaving, we don't find out until we call a few days into school knowing that they're not going to be back. And so it's not unusual for us to have 100 students that don't show up the first few days of school and have moved or gone to different places. The challenge for student services is it's not predictable what grades they're in, what school they're in. It's just a function of how it happens. So
a lot of guessing. Any questions? Anything? No answer? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, moving along to item number 11, board member comments or future agenda items. All right, well, hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn and close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we'll see everyone at the next board meeting on August 16th. Thank you.
Oh, nice. All right. Anybody that graduated